I don't know what it looks like or how to even define explosive, but it needs to be explosive.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you to do. Define
Well,
explosive. So between now and week 1, you figure out what explosive means to you and what
I'll
that's
tell you
points
what.
per game, yards per game, whatever that is.
I'll ask Tim Lester in August. How about that? I'll ask him because he uses the word explosive all the time. What is explosive to you? And by the way, he set the goal last August of basically cutting the numbers in half, like yards per play, yards per game. And through a lot of the season, he had been close to accomplishing that. I think some of those numbers, I think like points per game, didn't they double points per game? That was a pretty big one.
Doubled points per game?
Didn't they?
They scored like 15 a game the year before, right? Wasn't that the number? They didn't score 30 points a game last year, did they?
Let's see. Last year, Iowa, so 2023, they averaged 15.4 points per game. And in 2024, they averaged 27.7. So they nearly did. I mean, that's a pretty impressive turnaround. I mean, some of the numbers still got to go up. There's no question. But Tim Lester in year 1, you got to give him an attaboy.
Especially since I'm almost positive the defense didn't contribute as much to the 27 as they did the 15.
Right. Yep. And some people would say, well, that's all Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson was there 2 years under Brian and didn't break out until his first year under Tim Lester. I mean, everybody can have their opinions on why that happened that way, but things came together in year 1 under Tim Lester, and you hope that it just takes another step forward, even without Caleb Johnson.
So are you saying that they need to be explosive in 2025? I'm guessing because of these 3 factors. Defense not as dominant as it usually is. Number 2, schedule tougher. Mm-hmm. And number 3, just, hey, let's be a 2025 type of offense in college football and actually be explosive.
Like all of the above. Yeah, all of the above. And I think Tim Lester would have had you had that upfront conversation. And I mean, we kind of did when he got hired. That conversation with him initially, he would have said by September of 2025, I want this offense to be explosive. I don't think that's going too fast. 2 years into a tenure. Don't you think that's a fair, like a guy nowadays with the portal and whatnot at this level, although you have some disadvantages at Iowa, you have some advantages. I think it's fair to say we want to have an explosive offense by that time. And whatever his goals are, he's not a guy who's afraid to set goals, like actual stat goals. That's what one of the things I really appreciated about Tim Lester in talking to him when he first got the job. So I don't know what it looks like. I think top of my head, they can average, I mean, honestly, 27 ain't bad at all. The defense played half as well as it did last year. You know, they're fine.
Where does 27 rank in college football? I bet it's like 80th.
No, but that's, I mean, ball control.
Sure, in comparison, if it's a standalone number, then it's not good. But yes, in comparison to what it had been for 4 or 5 years.
And they are going to control the clock. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're going to play their brand of football.
Sure.
So, I mean, yes, for the people, see, we used to have apologists come on this show and on my show all the time that would try to defend Brian Ferentz because of how Iowa plays. The numbers aren't as bad as they look because of how Iowa plays. Well, they were so horrifically bad that even if that was true, which I think it is, he was still horrible. The offenses were still horrible. So, in other words, Lester improving to, if it's 80th in the country in points per game with the play style that Iowa runs, you know, if you average that out, maybe you're looking at a top 50 offense nationally, all things encompassing. But you know, I want to see explosive plays down the field. That's the one thing Tim Lester said last year at the end was like, we just haven't yet been able to get those big chunk plays, those super explosive plays. Got a couple. Had one against UCLA, a big pass from Sullivan to Gill, which was cool to see. And then Sullivan goes down with an injury. And that kind of put an end to any chances of being explosive. Although I will say this, Jackson Stratton looked real good Saturday. And I think if you ask Don Patterson, and he basically said as much Saturday, he was the best quarterback on the field. Now, Mark Gronowski wasn't in pads, wasn't playing, but Stratton was better than Hank Brown was, and Stratton was better than Jimmy Sullivan was. I think Hank Brown's a much better athlete. I think he's got probably a higher upside, partly because of his athleticism. But Stratton's got an arm. I mean, that dude can sling it. I'm frankly surprised that he didn't enter the portal and explore options, or Sullivan, or one of those guys. I mean, I get Jimmy Sullivan just got here in December, but they're bringing in this ad from Wake Forest, this Hecklinski kid. They're bringing him in. That's going to be. Did you hear the conversation about quarterbacks during the show with Don on Saturday?
I don't think so.
That's going to be 6 quarterbacks on roster, and so some people like I don't know what everybody else is doing around the country, but if you compare that to the Brian Ferentz era, that's unprecedented. And even what they have right now, before Pat Fitzgerald's kid comes in as a quarterback, and maybe he'll switch positions. Maybe maybe they know something about Ryan Fitzgerald that I don't. But he's coming in this summer, and he'll be another quarterback in addition to the Wake kid. Like even before he comes in, you've got 5 guys once the Wake kid gets here that are either A, on scholarship, and or B, have had significant playing time in high major football. That's rare even for Iowa. In recent time, I went back and tracked this. Iowa typically has 5 quarterbacks, but usually you've got 4 scholarly guys, and then one guy who's a total, I want to say nobody because that sounds really bad, but a guy who's not on scholarship, is never going to see the field, has never seen the field. That's not Jackson Stratton. Okay, Jackson Stratton was a former scholarship guy at a good program in Colorado State. He was committed to Washington before. When they got him out of the portal last year, I cut a whole video that got like 25,000 views because I thought it was a very intriguing ad. You remember that video? I talked about how intriguing it was to get a walk-on who had been on scholarship and had at one time committed to Washington, but they bring him in as a scholarship player. And guess what? He started Big Ten football last year and won at Maryland last year. So it's a unique situation, and how they were able to manage keeping all these guys here, the exception being Sullivan. I mean, you just can't have 7 guys. Sullivan leaves. He wants to play somewhere. He's committed to Tulane now. That's great. But that's a lot of pieces to work with. And they won't be able to keep them all. I mean, you know that. They're not going to be able to keep them all. Gronowski's going to be gone, but somebody's going to leave in December. Maybe 2 people leave in December. But it will be good to see how much they've developed this spring into fall camp. Once you get Hecklinski in there, once you get Fitzgerald in there, once you get Gronowski healthy, there ain't going to be enough snaps to go around. So it will be intriguing. We haven't seen this here in recent time at Iowa.
Yeah, when you sized it up a couple of weeks ago, I think I interrupted you and said, I don't remember seeing this type of quarterback room composition anywhere, because you usually have this guy's the starter, or these 2 guys are battling for the starting spot. And then, there's 2 guys that, forget it, they're not seeing the field. They're just there to give the defense reps. And then you got a couple guys you're developing in the middle. No, you got this glut of guys who have seen big-time college football. They've been on the field against legitimate defenses, but they don't have a ton of experience. They've got a couple games. So it is intriguing that they're that even with all these different guys.
Yeah, I mean, well, how would you compare that to programs across the country? I mean, how many programs have a guy who's
saying? That composition doesn't exist.
Yeah. Stratton's has started Big Ten games. Gronowski is a national champion at the FCS level. He's presumed starter. Hank Brown has started an SEC. He started a bowl game against, who did he start against?
Maryland.
It's ironic. Stratton and him have both played against Maryland. And then, yes, Jimmy Sullivan hasn't, but he just got here and he's on scholarship. And then Hecklinski, I don't think he's done anything. I don't think he's appeared in 1 game, but he's he's got 4 years of eligibility left. So he's a project. I mean, it's like Jimmy Sullivan. You basically got just a new guy as part of this current class. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I'll be interested to see what I'd like to get Ryan Fitzgerald on this show. Do you want to call your old buddy Patty Fitz and get his son in touch with me, Mark, so we can do an interview?
I'm thinking that you could probably work your angles much more effectively than I can mine on that one.